You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think and they'll grow.
That was Indie Cred with Danny, and now you are listening to The Cracked Nation. I'm Caleb Henry. I'm here with Tyler Robbins, and we are doing a special pre-Oscar Oscar predictions segment. Micah Woodbury will be joining us. Yesterday or Tuesday, we had our first half of the segment, and we talked, about what predictions we thought we were going to win and everything. And we did more of the minor categories on Tuesday. We're getting into the major categories today: Best Director, Best Picture. And we're going to probably go through some of the categories quickly so we can talk longer about the big categories.
Sounds good to me.
And if you want to tweet in, feel free at TheCrazy and at @cracked_nation. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/TheCrackedNation. And you can find us on YouTube, where the first half of this is posted at youtube.com/TheCrackedNation. Okay, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start off with Best Original Song.
I think I speak for both of us when I say this is the biggest gimme in all of the categories we're covering today. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. And there was only one other category in the whole Oscar race that I think is more of a sure lock. Like, if you're keeping tabs of, if you're doing a pool of who you think's going to win what categories.
Right.
This one and then Best Foreign Language Film.
Oh, yeah.
Are the two that you're like, oh, okay. More for Foreign Language Film. We talked about that Tuesday.
Right.
But here are the nominees for Best Original Song. But it really doesn't matter because you only need, one name here. The nominees are... We have Chasing Ice. We have...
Who's that by?
That is by... let me see here. It is by J. Ralph.
Ralph.
It's... Okay, whatever. The song from Les Mis, one of the ones that Hugh Jackman sang when he was in the cart. I don't remember the song. I don't care about it. The Pi's Lullaby from Life of Pi.
Right.
It was a good song, but I don't know which one of the songs it was.
Yeah, that's
when you watch the movie, you don't go, oh, yeah, I remember that one song. You just remember the soundtrack.
Because it was all instrumental. So, I mean, it's hard to pick it out if you don't know what...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Everybody Needs a Best Friend from Ted.
Yeah.
I was kind of happy that got a nomination, actually.
Yeah.
A comedy finally got some love in the Academy Awards. And the winner will be Skyfall by Adele, without a doubt. It was my favorite part of the movie. The opening credits were my favorite part of that whole movie.
Yeah,
because of her song.
They were definitely up there. Sitting in the theater, I saw this just a few days after it came out. I think it was a Sunday afternoon I went and saw it. And from the moment that those credits showed, just with the epic sequence that occurred right before it, going right into the credits, it was a really, really cool sequence. It just set the tone for the whole movie, and Adele is just awesome. She's one of the best pure vocal artists in the game today. And
she has such a mature singing voice. I thought she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
But she's 23.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness, I'm the same age as she is almost. Wow, okay. So definitely pick Adele there. If you don't pick Adele, then you're going to lose that one. Guaranteed. That's just the way it is, because that one's going to win, Skyfall. Now let's go to Best Original Score. Okay. I love this category. Probably my third favorite category in the whole Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Because I think scores are so underappreciated in a movie. And
you could go so far as to say they underscore the entire movie.
Another pun by Tyler. Yeah. If you, every good movie has a great score, regardless. Even silent films have music, because there's never there's always some kind of music in the background.
And it's kind of like you were talking about film editing on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. If you have a movie that you just absolutely love, chances are you can go back and listen intently trying to pick out the score, and it's going to be music that's really, really strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if you don't notice it the first time through.
And a great score is one that you hear and you remember the movie from the score. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, even Batman, the newer ones. Anything by Hans Zimmer or John Williams is usually a win. Well, here are the nominations for Best Original Score. Anna Karenina, Argo, Life of Pi, Lincoln, and Skyfall.
Now, see,
none of these really stuck out to me.
Right. If anything, I would say Life of Pi out of these.
I would agree.
Life of Pi, it's the only one here that's nominated. I think it's the only one here that's nominated for Best Original Song and Best Score.
Yeah, it is.
And
no, Skyfall. Skyfall's up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
okay.
that Thomas Newman is a great composer for Skyfall.
Right.
He did Shawshank Redemption, or I'm sorry, not Shawshank Redemption. He did Wall-E, Wreck-It Ralph.
How do you get Shawshank Redemption and Wall-E confused?
It's his cousin, I believe,
Oh.
that did the Shawshank.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I was like, there's not a whole lot of similarity.
No, his scores for American Beauty and Shawshank. Yeah, so he did do
Okay.
American Beauty and Shawshank, 2 Academy Award-winning movies. So,
Right.
I mean, he's a great composer, and he could definitely win for Skyfall.
Yeah.
And out of all these, like you said, Life of Pi is the one that sticks out. Lincoln, because it's John Williams.
Right.
It's just going to be good. And then Skyfall. The sound in Skyfall was really good.
Yeah, even if you take Adele away, that's still a really, really solid score throughout the movie.
Agreed. Now, when we get to sound mixing and stuff, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Skyfall.
Okay.
Because I have some issues with it. But when it comes to the score, I thought it was excellent.
Absolutely.
So to pick one here, if I was to pick on my thing, I would have to say Lincoln, just because it's John Williams.
Ahead of Life of Pi.
I think Life of Pi should win.
Okay.
But I think Lincoln will win. Like, I want Life of Pi. I thought it was a better soundtrack.
Right.
But the fact that Warhorse was in it last year, Lincoln will be in it and be up there.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pick against John Williams.
That is true.
Almost impossible to pick against him.
However, this could be, I mean, aside from the visuals, which I think everyone's just kind of already given that up for Life of Pi, this could be the one kind of general category that Life of Pi really surprises people on, just because I don't think it's got a shot to win Best Picture. Unfortunately, it's a very well done movie. We talked about this. I didn't like it as much as some people, but I still recognize it's an extremely well done film.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's got a shot for Best Picture. I don't think it had anyone up for Best Actor or Actress.
Nope.
But this could be the one general category that it really surprises people on and kind of upsets John Williams. And I would be happy if it did.
Yeah, it was kind of like last year when Hugo took home all the visual awards.
Right.
Like, people expected Tree of Life to win Best Cinematography. Like, Hugo was not expected to win any of them. It took, like, all 5 of them.
Right.
Best Cinematography, Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Editing, Best Score. I believe it won, or it didn't win Best Score. That was the artist. But it won a lot of them. And it was like, oh, my goodness, that could be Life of Pi this year.
Right.
You could go in and sneak up and take every award in the music. If you're just tuning in, this is the Cracked Nation here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting. We are talking Oscar predictions. This is part 2. The other part was last Tuesday. You can watch that on YouTube at youtube.com/TheCrackedNation. And we are just going down the list. Let's go to sound editing.
Okay.
Now, sound editing and sound mixing isn't too much of a difference.
How would you define the difference there, Caleb?
I would define the difference. Editing is how well it's, like, spliced together and how well it flows with the movie.
Okay.
Like how well its timing is.
Right.
Mixing is how well it was recorded and how well it sounds. I believe that's the difference.
Okay.
I really don't know. Don't put money on that because I'm not positive. So, yeah, that's just what I thought it meant. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. That seems legit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good thing. It was a good guess. Now, for sound, we'll go sound mixing first.
Okay.
Sound mixing, the nominees are Argo, Les Miserables, Life of Pi, Lincoln, and Skyfall. Now, the mixing, you can tell in in Les Mis, the mixing is when you have all those different people singing, and it comes together very well.
Yeah.
That would be the mixing. And that's what Roper picked to win. And looking at the list here, it's tough. Argo, Les Mis, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Skyfall. Those are some great categories.
Right.
Great soundtracks. I'm going to have to take Les Mis.
I agree with that. I think that all of those movies are very well done, but when I think back on kind of the way that the sound flows and the mixing of it, none of them really stick out to me, aside from, like you said, in Les Mis, they did such a good job of melding all those voices together and getting the absolute best harmonies out of it and the best sounds.
Especially when you know how they recorded it, live on set.
Yeah, for those that are listening that have seen Les Mis but didn't know this, they didn't record those individually and edit them together. Those were, basically, they were doing live choir on the stage for those songs.
Now, they were all recorded separately, but they were all live when they were recorded.
Well, right, yes.
Yeah, and they just had an earpiece in their ear that they could hear a piano, and that was it. And no orchestra, and so that was some great mixing there.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that end scene alone where everyone is singing at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
That almost earns the Oscar just by itself.
Right. And so I don't think it would be not smart to go against Les Mis here, although if something else wins, I'll kind of be like, oh, okay.
Right.
But
This isn't
You can't pick against it, though.
Yeah, this isn't a category that's just gonna, I feel like, blow everything else out of the water.
Right.
But it's the safe pit. It's like you don't hit on blackjack on your 16, or at least so I'm told. This is an Oklahoma Christian radio, but you could maybe get a little bit higher, but
Right.
You don't want to risk that.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to pick against it. It's like picking against. That's why picking against John Williams for best score
Right.
is always kind of risky. You don't really know if it could pay off in the end, but it wouldn't be worth it.
Right.
Okay, best achievement in sound editing. This one I prefer this list because this makes more sense.
Right.
Argo, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, Skyfall, and Zero Dark 30.
Okay. All these very solid movies. Much love to everyone that was involved with them. There's not a bad movie in this nominee list, but I think Django's got to win this.
And I think I wrote down, Roper put down, and a couple critics have put down Zero Dark 30.
Really?
Yes, and
Okay.
that is also because The Hurt Locker won back in 2008
Okay.
for this category.
But see, in 2008, Quentin Tarantino hadn't released a film.
That is true. That is true.
That's one thing about Tarantino films. You always know going in it's going to be extremely bloody, extremely profane, extremely well-directed from a production standpoint and post-production standpoint, and just getting the characters to flow. And the soundtrack is going to be out of this world.
And it was.
Every single time.
I'm shocked it isn't up for best score. But they're not original songs, a lot of them.
Yeah, and I mean that's what did it in. I mean, it can't be nominated for original score when 3/4 of the songs are not original.
Right, even though it was probably my favorite soundtrack out of any of the movies this year.
Agreed.
Yeah. So sound editing, though, Roper picked Zero Dark 30. I wrote down Zero Dark 30 as what I think will win,
Right.
but I would love to see Django, and I think it should win.
Yeah, I mean, and not only really. I mean, this might fall more under mixing than editing, but not only the songs and the way that they flow into the movie, but the way that the sound effects really. I mean, we were talking about this just a bit on Tuesday. Every sound that's in that movie just really. I mean, it sounds like you're standing there. It doesn't sound like you're watching it on TV or on a movie screen.
His sound, not just the score, but it's like everything about the sound. The gunshots, the blood, like everything about it sounds so real. And he is very good at getting that sound.
Absolutely.
In all his movies, he's good at that.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to talk Skyfall a little bit here. Sound mixing. Or editing, sorry, not mixing. It was up for both. But I had an issue with that movie. At least the first opening action scene before Adele's song kicks in, I was not brought into the movie because of the sound. I thought the sound was weak.
Really?
In that open, yeah. And it wasn't the theater because after that it picked up and it sounded good. But for some reason, that opening scene, the music wasn't powerful enough. And it wasn't the soundtrack because the soundtrack was great.
Right.
It just wasn't loud enough and impactful enough.
Okay.
And so I was kind of surprised when it got nominated for editing because I didn't think they edited that first scene very well. And considering it's the first scene of the movie, it needs to be powerful.
Yeah.
And gripping, and maybe it was just me, but I did not get pulled into the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
I was like, okay, let's get going here.
Right. I can definitely agree with that. I think that, here's my issue with what you're saying.
Yeah.
The music was very underwhelming at the beginning, but I don't think it was meant to really set the stage there so much as the dialogue and the sequence of events was.
Right.
And
that is true.
And that's the thing that I remember about that opening sequence kind of leading up to Adele's song. It wasn't about the music or the background score. It was all about the characters and just kind of setting the stage for the movie while simultaneously just really drawing you in terms of the action.
Right. And I felt like it did a good job of that. It just would have been a little better with better sound.
Yeah.
And it's not much. But then also having Adele's song right after that weak beginning made it just like hit you hard. You're like, oh my goodness, Adele was so good.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to do another big category here, and we're going to talk on it for a little while.
Okay.
Best visual effects.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and jump in. Here are the nominees. The Avengers, The Hobbit, Life of Pi, Prometheus, Snow White and the Huntsman. I have 2 issues with this list. Or 2 of these 5 should not be on here.
I know you feel the Avengers shouldn't be on here.
I feel it, and we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Avengers and Snow White and the Huntsman.
Okay.
Even though Snow White and the Huntsman was really good visually.
Right.
I didn't think it was Oscar-worthy good.
Right. Well, it wasn't an Oscar-worthy good film. But,
Yeah, exactly.
But, every now and again you'll see one of these where they come out with a movie that just the quality level of it was not that high, but in whatever category it was in, it's like you've got to at least give it the nomination.
Yeah, that is true.
Snow White and the Huntsman is definitely qualifies in that area, just with the amazing visuals of it all.
Yeah.
And the whole visual aspect of that movie, I felt like was the strongest part of the movie.
It was definitely the strongest part of the movie, other than maybe costume, because the costumes were.
Well,
good.
And that kind of.
It got nominated for that, too.
It's a different category, but that almost falls into the visual aspects of it as well.
It really does.
It would almost have been a better silent film.
Yeah. Well, Kristen Stewart doesn't say anything worth hearing, anyways. So I don't.
True.
Yeah, there were some other issues with that movie, but so that one I don't ever pick Snow White and the Huntsman here. You'll lose.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about Avengers real quick, because I know we feel differently about this.
Okay.
The Avengers. 90% of the movie was shot on a green screen.
Right.
And they did a great job of that. The Hulk, best looking Hulk, without a doubt. He looked like Mark Ruffalo big.
Yeah.
Great visuals. He alone should be up for this award. But the rest of the visuals, when it came to the city and when like the Hulk was smashed into the walls, it didn't do what real buildings would do when you hit them. Like that big monster thing hits that building, and not enough stuff like breaks. I wanted to see more Michael Bay like. And I know it's probably not realistic. I bet Avengers was probably the most realistic. But it just didn't seem visually stunning. Like I felt like there was something missing.
Okay, my question to you is, if I can interject, did you care the first or the second time?
I did not care, because I thought they were good. I mean, they were really good visuals.
Right.
But I didn't think they were great visuals.
Right. Now, see,
They were better than Snow White and the Huntsman, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Snow White and the Huntsman is, can we agree, the weakest on this list of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it just below the Avengers.
Okay. Just below.
But if the Hulk wouldn't have been there, and like looking that good, I would have put the Avengers way lower.
Okay.
But the Hulk alone brought it up.
See, here's the reason I disagree with you on the visual aspect of
right.
this. I think that the visuals didn't detract anything from the movie.
By no means. Not at all.
But at the same time, I don't feel like they added a whole lot to the movie either. I mean, that was the dialogue and the way that Joss Whedon just gets the characters to intermingle in a way that, you've got legitimately 4 or 5 leading actors and actresses, and I thought this is going to be a train wreck as far as the script writing and the screenplay, and it wasn't. It was a very well-written movie, but the effects weren't what got me there. What got me there was the fact that since like 2007, they've been setting this thing up.
Yeah.
And it finally came to a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. And the visuals, the thing about them though, like I feel like in 15 years, we're going to look back and be like, wow, that was some pretty poor green screen.
See, I disagree.
I know, we've talked about this before, but for some reason, the green screen in that, I just feel like is not going to look good in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. Here's the Dark Knight Rises fanboy.
No, I don't think Dark Knight Rises. I don't want to say I'm glad it didn't get nominated for any awards, but by no means do I think it should have been over any of these.
Yeah.
Jake's in here going, yep, I'm upset. There's only a few awards I think it should have, maybe, but not here. Not visual effects, because there wasn't really much visuals in Dark Knight Rises.
Right.
But considering the Avengers was almost literally 90% green screen,
yeah.
Okay, I'll give it that. I'll let him have the nomination, because that's a lot of green screen.
Right.
But how does Michael Bay not win Best Special Effects every year for Transformers?
Yeah, I mean,
because those visuals trump the Avengers.
It's because
the movies are just so bad.
Yes, I mean outside of the first movie,
right?
And the first movie was pretty decent. Second and third ones were just awful. Here's the thing. Here's how tastes change. This is a perfect illustration. I loved the second one when I saw it in theaters. Yeah. And then I went back and looked at it years later, and I was like, oh, the tongue robot. Oh.
Yep.
And it's like, this is Michael Bay at his best and also at his worst. I mean, he does a great job with the effects. He does a great job with making things blow up and look cool doing it. But at the same time, he cannot single-handedly do a good movie. Yep. Put him in charge of the visual effects and let him just do what he does.
And I think if he would have done the visuals for Avengers, it probably would have taken away from the movie because it would have been so good. So I will say the Avengers graphics were perfect for what they needed. Right. I feel like if they would have been any better, we would have been overwhelmed by too much stuff. Too much good actors, too much visuals. Like, we would have just been too much. So I'll give it to the Avengers that they did it for what they needed perfectly.
Right. Now, who's your pick on this?
Now, so obviously the three that we're debating here are The Hobbit, Life of Pi, and Prometheus.
Okay.
When I saw Life of Pi, without a doubt, it was the best visuals I had ever seen.
Does that still stand?
But then I watched it again, and it wasn't nearly as good the second time, visually, because I wasn't blown away. And I would almost have to go here and say Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus is, I mean, this is kind of like we were talking about a movie that it's not a great movie, but it gets nominated in a certain area of categories. Prometheus visually was another one of those movies. I'm surprised that Snow White and the Huntsman even got nominated. I'm not surprised that Prometheus got its nomination, and it deserved it, I feel like, in this category.
Because whenever you think of Prometheus, everybody says it looked marvelous.
Right.
And it did. As much as I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. I mean, it's a very split movie, whether or not you liked it. The visuals, 100% across the board, everybody says visually stunning.
Yeah.
And Ridley Scott, the director, he used miniatures most of the time.
Right.
Which is what makes it even better. Like, all those big, like, statues and stuff, those are all sets. Those are not CGI. Now, there is a lot of CGI in the movie.
Right.
But those sets are not CGI. So, I thought it was a very good job there. I'm going to say go ahead and pick. If I had to pick one, I'll pick Life of Pi.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to change my mind and say I think Prometheus should probably win.
See, Prometheus, maybe it should win, maybe it shouldn't. I mean, it's very, very close for me. But here's why Life of Pi will win.
Right.
Because it's nominated for Best Picture, because it's a higher quality movie, and because they're not going to just snub it on every single category. It's not going to win Best Picture. It might win Best Score, but like you said, it's up against John Williams.
Right.
This is in its wheelhouse. This is what it was designed to do. And I feel like it's going to take it home. It's going to take home the hardware. That's setting down my opinion right there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those that the visuals made the movie that great. So it lived off of its visuals, much like Avatar did.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want to, like, Life of Pi, even though the story is still really good, acting is really good, directing is excellent, the visuals carry that movie. Prometheus, you know, you could not have as great of visuals, and I would still think the exact same of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
But it was still visually good. Now The Hobbit. We got to talk real quick.
I'm surprised that you put Prometheus ahead of The Hobbit here.
When I first saw The Hobbit, I did not like the amount of CGI they used.
Okay.
And there were a couple instances, Azog the Goblin, the Pale Goblin, I thought he was a poor use of CGI. They did that motion capture like they do with Gollum.
Right.
It didn't work out at all. It's just not good. But then you go look at Gollum, who looks so good.
Right.
Oh my goodness. He makes the Lord of the Rings Gollum look bad. Like, that's how well he was, or how good he was in this movie. And then you know, the King Goblin, he looks so real. And then I went and saw some special features. We talked about this the other day, about how many scenes were actually all CGI.
Right.
So I'm going to say, if any of those three win, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
Although I really, really want Life of Pi to win.
Yeah.
But if I was going to put my money down, I would say Life of Pi. I want Life of Pi, but Prometheus probably should. But I don't know. It's really tough. Those three, it's really a coin flip, a three-way coin flip.
Agreed.
If that's possible. Three-way coin flip. So, yeah.
While you're imagining that, let's move on.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to go to Best Original, or Best Adapted Screenplay first.
Okay.
Because screenplays are so underrated when it comes to...
Well, I mean, a bad screenplay sinks a movie.
It really does. And you can have a great movie, and people are like, no, it was a good movie. I'm like, yeah, but the screenplay was just awful. And they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, Transformers 2.
Yeah.
Screenplay was just awful in that movie. Screenplay is just the writing, really, is what it is.
Yeah, well, it was Megan Fox. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like everyone was just infatuated with Megan Fox for about 3 years, and then they went back and they're like, what kind of drug was I on? I mean, that's the facelift didn't help that either.
No. So we're going to go through adapted screenplay first. There's two different ones. There's adapted and original. Original is, I write this screenplay for this movie. Adapted is screenplay based on material previously produced or published. So based off a book.
Right.
Or based off of... So we're going to go adapted first. Okay. And so we got Argo, Beasts of the Southern Wild, Life of Pi, Lincoln, and Silver Linings Playbook.
That's a really strong category list.
It is. I have not seen Beasts of the Southern Wild.
I don't think it showed anywhere in Oklahoma
it showed
City.
one day here in Oklahoma, or at the Tinseltown.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but it was like expensive to go because it was like a special deal or whatever.
Right.
And it's really tough picking a movie that I haven't seen. So I'm just going to go ahead and kick Beast of the Southern Wild out of this list. And nobody's talked about it as best original screenplay.
Right.
You just don't. And then I haven't seen Silver Linings Playbook. But that one's kind of one of the favorites.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely up there. So I'm going to have to just leave both those out. So we pretty much have Life of Pi, Argo, and Lincoln are the three that we've both seen.
Right. I feel like this is the category. I mean, Best Picture is definitely one of the favorites, but I feel like this category.
Both screenplay categories.
Right. I feel like in adapted, that's what we're talking about, yes?
Correct.
I feel like in adapted screenplay, Argo is got to win this. I feel like it needs to.
Because people that were around at that time said, yeah, the movie is spot on what happened. Yeah, there were some differences, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you could talk about historical accuracies and inaccuracies, but what really does it for me on a good screenplay versus just an okay screenplay is how the lines really lift each other up.
Yeah.
And, this part of the script builds up to this part of the script and this part of the script. I mean, you can't see it because it's on the radio, but I'm doing a thing with my hands where I'm showing a little progression.
Right.
And that's one of those movies where the script really built itself up and helped. I mean, Alan Arkin made Ben Affleck better, and John Goodman made
Alan Arkin better.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
it just rolls on.
Perfect dialogue, perfect. Everything in that script was excellent.
Yeah.
And Argo has been winning awards like no other in all the other award categories or other award shows.
Right.
It won the Golden Globe for Best Director, Best Picture, and so it's tough to pick against Argo in any category right now because it's so hot. But there's Lincoln. And if you think about it, no movie has ever been made about this part of Abraham Lincoln's life. I mean, there might have been, but it wasn't very good. And so they focus all on the politics. And Roper and Ebert both picked Lincoln to win.
Yeah.
And I heard it was like a 12-year process writing Lincoln. 10 to 12 years when Spielberg was like, okay, I want to get this movie going. He started like
So you're saying it took
researching.
longer to make a movie about the Civil War than the Civil War took?
Correct.
Okay.
It wasn't even about the Civil War, though, which
true.
is what makes it so good.
True.
And I don't think Life of Pi has a chance here.
Yeah, I don't.
As much as I liked the screenplay and it was really good, I just don't see it being a winner here.
Right.
I see Lincoln or Argo. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick, because of the movie Lincoln is, I'm going to have to say I think Lincoln will win, but I think Argo should win.
I like that pick, too. I mean, it's hard to pick against Lincoln because it really, I mean, I think back to the screenplay and the flow of the scenes and the characters, the dialogue. It didn't let me down in that regard.
Right.
It's just that I loved the way that Argo did things so much. But, yeah, from a screenplay standpoint, I feel like Lincoln is going to be the movie that comes in and steamrolls everything for these Oscars. So should we...
We're going to take our break now.
Yeah.
You're listening to The Cracked Nation here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting.
And Micah Woodbury joining us when we get back.
He will be joining us, and so hang in there. We'll be back. Welcome back. This is The Cracked Nation here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting. I'm Caleb Henry. I'm here with Tyler Robbins and Micah Woodbury. We've been talking Oscar predictions. This is day 2 of our predictions video/radio podcast thing. First one is on youtube.com/TheCrackedNation. You can watch it on there. You can tweet in at us at TheCrazy and at Cracked_Nation. We'll respond to tweets. And we've gone through 5 categories today. Well, I can't think of the word.
Recap.
Recap. That's the one I wanted. We went sound mixing. I don't remember what we picked for that, actually. So we did sound mixing was Les Miserables.
Right.
Sound editing was Zero Dark 30 was the one that we thought would win.
Django is the one
Django's
that we
want to win. Right. And then
visual effects, I think we agreed Life of Pi.
Life of Pi for visual effects.
Original song, that's a gimme. That's
definitely Skyfall.
Skyfall
from Adele.
Yeah. Best score. We kind of split between John Williams with Lincoln.
I would like to see Life of Pi win that, but
And
I
I
think Lincoln is probably going to win.
Yeah. And then best adapted screenplay, the one we talked about right before we got off the air. talking about a bunch of really strong candidates in this.
There really were.
But we agreed that Lincoln's probably the favorite to win, but Argo is the one that we both want to win. Does that sound about right?
Correct. We would like to see Argo win, but Lincoln is probably going to win.
Okay. So let's get right in with Best Original Screenplay and pick up the screenplay game where we left it off. We covered adapted. Let's do original.
Okay, sounds good. So we're going to go with Best Original Screenplay. This is one that was written directly for this movie. Here are the nominees: Amour, Django Unchained, Flight, Moonrise Kingdom, Zero Dark 30. If I was to vote here, it would be hands down Django.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Same here.
But Roper and Ebert both picked Amour.
Yeah.
And it always seems like these kind of films win this one for some reason.
Yeah. I hope Amour doesn't win. I mean, not to take anything away from it. I'm sure it's a good movie. But it's really hard for me to support a movie that I've never even had the opportunity to see. I mean, you said that Beasts of the Southern Wild was at Tinseltown for one day.
Right.
The Amour never was. I mean, Amour is...
It wasn't, was it?
Amour is a foreign language film. It's shot in French. It's, up for Best Picture as well, which we'll talk about it here shortly on that category. But it's hard for me to support a movie that I've never seen. And at the same time, I'm biased in this. I readily admit it because I love Quentin Tarantino's style. But I think we both agree that he, at least,
Well, he's the only person in the world that could have written that screenplay.
Absolutely.
One person in the whole entire world that can write that screenplay like he did. And I feel like I haven't seen Amour, so I can't really speak of it. But like Moonrise Kingdom, Zero Dark 30, I feel like somebody else could have written those. Now, Moonrise Kingdom, again, it's Wes Anderson, which is really hard to write like Wes Anderson.
He's one of the most original directors in the game today.
Right. But I can't pick Tarantino here.
So he directed and wrote, correct?
Yes. He always writes and directs his own stuff.
Right. So I don't feel like any of these other people
Use
did
your words,
that.
Micah.
No. Well, Wes Anderson always writes and directs his stuff.
Yeah.
And he did Moonrise Kingdom. Great screenplay. But when I think of best original screenplay, I don't think Moonrise Kingdom. Yeah, I saw it. Loved it.
Okay.
And in Zero Dark 30, great screenplay. I mean, that was a solid screenplay.
Right.
But I got to go with Django here.
Got to.
But because
But why would you go Django, though?
Why would it? Because of how impossible it would be for somebody else to write that screenplay.
And not only that, the way that the dialogue flows.
Everything.
I mean, it's vintage Tarantino dialogue, and you got so many great actors in this movie.
Definitely.
And actresses, Kerry Washington, I feel like gets left out of the conversation in this, but she did a very solid job with her role. You've got Samuel L. Jackson, you've got Christoph Waltz, you've got Leonardo DiCaprio, you've got Jamie Foxx in the lead. I mean, there's not a bad performance in the entire movie.
And you've got to think, I mean, obviously these actors and actresses are at, I mean, I guess the peaks of their careers. I mean, and the script has to be good.
Oh, yeah. And
For,
see, when
for
I
them
hear
to come in and
Tarantino,
want to do it.
Three things come to mind when I hear Tarantino. Dialogue, sound, like we talked about earlier, and then, like, his cinematography. Like, the way his movies are shot. They're just crazy. But dialogue is a big part of the screenplay. And his dialogue is always so close to being awfully dorky. Like, if Pulp Fiction, if those lines are not written perfectly, that movie comes across as such
Cheesy.
that nobody would watch it. But it comes across as masterful because he does that in every one of his movies.
And can I say, too, if there it doesn't exist, but I wish it did, an Academy Award for Best Casting in a movie.
I wish they had that.
If they had that, and I'm really, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of surprised they don't. That's really something they should have.
I believe it's the Golden Globes has Best Ensemble Cast.
Okay. If they had that in the Academy Awards, I feel like Quentin Tarantino, every movie he released would be up for that. Because he always finds people that really just make his movies flow. And not only does he do the screenplay and make the dialogue perfect, he finds the perfect people to deliver the lines.
Exactly. He's like, the D is silent, hillbilly. Like, that comes is so dorky, unless it's Django saying it or Jamie Foxx when he says it.
Right.
You know? We got a tweet in from Jake, who's actually 4 feet away from us, and he says, Micah is my hero. So, there you go.
Well, it's good to have a fan.
Yeah, thank you, Jake.
That's your only fan.
But this is Caleb's show, so me and Tyler are just
it's all
drones.
my show.
So
Okay, we're going to move on. So I think Django should win, but I think Zero Dark 30 or Amour will win.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't pick between the two. I haven't seen Amour, but from the critics, Amour, if you're writing down your list, probably Amour should
It's
win.
a foreign film, correct?
Foreign language film, yeah.
Okay.
Let's go to Best Cinematography. Ooh, I love cinematography.
As
Probably
do
my
I.
second favorite category in the Academy Awards.
Besides,
Besides Best Picture.
well, that would make
Obviously.
sense.
Best Picture, but cinematography is so underappreciated. Much
Definitely.
like the score, the cinematography can make or break a movie.
And for the average movie fan that's out there listening that doesn't really know a lot of these terms, can you kind of break down what cinematography
Yes.
entails and how it's different from visual effects?
Visual effects are where, like, you go and add stuff to a movie. Like, I'm going to add an explosion here, or digitally add something here, change it. Cinematography is what the camera shows and how the camera moves, what the camera makes you think of, the way it moves. And every time I think of cinematography, I think Lord of the Rings, because of the panning shots that were huge,
Right.
picked up the perfect visuals and everything about it. And then I also think of any film by Martin Scorsese, but his cinematography is different.
It
His
is.
cinematography is like, you can tell what the person's thinking by the way the camera is angled.
Yeah. You know who I think of, or what I think of
Yeah.
on cinematography? After a show we did a few weeks ago, I think of Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola, like any of those old gangster films.
Yeah.
Much like, yeah.
I feel like just the nature of that genre really requires really strong cinematography, or the movie is going to be lacking for it.
Exactly. And when Once Upon a Time in America, after we got done watching that movie, we thought every single scene in the movie, every camera shot was thought out. And you could tell.
In which movie?
In Once Upon a Time in America. It's like, it's a 4-hour movie, and every single camera shot, they took their time on, and you could tell. And just something about, it's just the way the camera operates and looks, and everything about it. I'm sure there's more to it, but I don't know. Here are the nominees. Anna Karenina, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, Lincoln, and Skyfall. Who do you think should
Pretty
win?
strong. Pretty strong.
That's extremely strong. I would say Lincoln is probably the favorite to win here. And here I might surprise you with this, Caleb. I mean, Quentin Tarantino, he's probably my favorite director. If he's not, he's one of my top 2 or 3. I love the guy's work. I love the way that he thinks outside the box on things.
Right.
I don't think he should win for this.
For cinematography? I don't
For
either.
Cinematography. I think that Life of Pi is very strong in it.
Right.
I think that Lincoln is extremely strong in the way that
Yeah.
they shot. The way that I think about it is the scene where he's down. Can I do
lighting
spoilers on this?
cinematography.
Can I do spoilers on
We'll
this?
call a spoiler here. So hang
Okay,
on. If you
if
haven't seen Lincoln.
If you haven't
spoiler.
seen Lincoln, plug your ears for about the next 20 seconds. The scene where he's down kind of in the basement of the building waiting for a telegraph to see how things are going with the battle in the Civil War. Just the way that there's one really long shot in that where it shows him walking up and kind of standing there and doing what he needs to do and then walking back.
Yeah.
And just the entire...
Continuous shot.
Yeah, the continuous shot and the way
Those
that...
are always nice.
Yeah.
Well, they can be really bad.
they sure can.
I've seen some really terrible extended shots.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this case, it really works. Lincoln, throughout the movie, I don't remember ever seeing a scene where I thought that wasn't really well shot.
Right. And that's what Spielberg does when he puts his time into a movie.
Have either of you seen Skyfall?
Oh, yeah, we both have.
Oh, yeah.
What do you
And-
think?
I thought
Skyfall, I don't think should win in this.
I don't either, but
I'm
I
saying,
did
how
like
strong
the
is it
cinematography.
cinematography-wise?
I thought I was glad to see the nomination. I thought it was worthy
Just
of
to
a
get some
nomination,
recognition.
but by no means is it worthy of a win. But just the ending, closer to the end of the movie when they're walking in the fog, that always comes to mind. Like stuff like that is great cinematography.
Right.
That and where they're walking away from the building that's just
Right. It's
blown up.
in
Also,
pieces.
Anna Karenina, which
Right.
we have not seen, correct? I mean, it's been in a lot of categories, so there
really
has to be
has.
something in there that that is saying that it's
Now
pretty
I
good.
think the heavy favorite here is Life of Pi, though.
Ahead of Lincoln.
I think so. Roper and Ebert both picked Life of Pi,
Okay.
and I'm picking Life of Pi. I think it should win,
Okay.
and I think if I was to put money down, I'm going to put it on Life of Pi.
right.
Okay. I
But don't put money down.
It's so no, yeah, I'm not, of course, but I'm not. It's so hard to pick against Lincoln here.
yeah.
It really is,
Right.
and Django. I mean, those three are strong here.
Right. I mean, part of the thing that I don't think Django should win for this is I judge Quentin Tarantino against his own work,
Right.
and I don't think that this is anywhere near his strongest cinematography in a movie.
Right.
And so that, by that standard, it makes it hard for me to pick him.
But you got to think, does the Academy go off of past, or do they just judge what it is as a whole?
Well, I mean, whether
you would think
whether you'd like them to or not, I feel like they go off of past quite a bit because
should.
John Williams would not get nearly the rep in and out
Exactly.
of in movies and out of movies.
He has lost his touch.
Who?
John Williams. He is not as good as he was 20 years
he's
ago.
He's the one that wrote the score for
Star
Wars.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like he was. I mean, you can't.
It's a
He's
fantastic
arguably
score.
the greatest or movie composer of all time.
Right.
I don't even know if that's arguably. Probably just period is period. But now, there's other guys that are getting at least as good or better than him because he's paved the way for them. But just because of his past, I feel like he's getting nominations that he probably shouldn't.
Right. It's kind of like a Supreme Court nomination. You know, it's really
right.
hard to get the job, but once you get it, then it's there for life.
And I just feel like when it comes to cinematography, they're going to look at Tarantino's old stuff and look at Spielberg's old stuff, and go, okay, yada yada. But I'm hoping Life of Pi wins. I think it should.
I'd love to see Life of Pi win here.
I would love to see Life of Pi win any category. Anyone it's in, I would be okay with it winning.
The only one I wouldn't would be Skyfall with Adele.
Oh, well, yeah.
I
Let
mean,
me take that back. Adele needs to win.
She needs to win Best Original Song. Outside of that, every category that Life of Pi is in, I would be perfectly content if Life of Pi took it.
Yeah.
And so, and again, this is me being objective as a movie critic because I wasn't that fond of the movie.
Right.
I thought it was.
Right.
I thought it was.
Skyfall?
No, of Life of Pi.
Oh, Life of Pi.
I went and saw it in 3D in theaters and thought it was a very well done movie. The visuals are amazing. Cinematography. I mean, now that I think back to it, I was thinking more visual effects, but now that I think back on the cinematography and the camera angles,
when they're in that boat, dude, everything about it is just excellent looking.
I'm gonna change my pick. I'm gonna say, I still think Lincoln probably will win.
Okay.
But I think the Life of Pi probably should.
I think Lincoln is a safe bet on half of the categories in the Oscars, just because of the type of movie that it is.
Right.
Which we talked about last show.
Right. Jake just asked me, he's like, if you ever win an Oscar, will you mention me on the podium? No. Unless you're in my movie. There's not enough time. You get like a minute to speak.
Back in the day, you used to be able to stay up there forever until they started playing people off.
We have 12 minutes left. So we're going to go to Best Supporting Actress because this is going to be a hot topic really quickly. Here are the nominations for Best Supporting Actress. Amy Adams for The Master, Sally Field for Lincoln, Anne Hathaway for Les Miserables, Helen Hunt for The Sessions, and Jackie Weaver for Silver Linings Playbook.
Helen Hunt.
I'm going to go ahead and kick Jackie Weaver out of the mix because neither of us have seen Silver Linings Playbook. And she's definitely not the favorite to win.
Yeah,
like, nobody talks about her.
I haven't heard anyone say
Adams,
anything about her performance in that movie.
Right. Amy Adams for The Master I heard was really good also, but again, nobody really talks about her. Helen Hunt for The Sessions. Some people say she was really good. Ebert thinks she should win. That's Ebert's. He doesn't think she will, but he thinks she should. So that leaves us with Anne Hathaway and Sally Field.
Okay.
And this is where the debate's going to start.
Oh my gosh, that's a really tough debate. Well, first of all, shout out to Helen Hunt, who was in Twister back in the day with
she was in Twister.
I think Bob Paxton, or maybe Bill. I don't know.
Paxton.
Yeah, good movie. Anyway, I have not seen The Sessions. Have you seen The Sessions?
No, I'm not even going to talk Helen Hunt here because I don't think any of us have seen it.
If we talk about Anne Hathaway, Sally Field, first of all, the body of work for both of them is fantastic.
Right.
That's a really tough choice. That's a toss-up. It really is.
And this is where we differ because I personally think Sally Field should win. And
I was very underwhelmed by Sally Field's performance.
Really?
I felt like it didn't really add that much to the movie. I felt like you could have gotten a lot of different actresses to put in her place and fill her role and do it well. Whereas Anne Hathaway, she was in Les Miserables, which 2.5 hour, maybe 2 hour and 45-minute movie for a grand total of like 20 minutes. And
spoiler alert, people.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything here.
No, that is the spoiler.
No, people know.
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't know the story of Les Mis.
If you go to Les Miserables to watch Anne Hathaway, you might be disappointed because you're going to be there.
There's a lot of characters in that movie that come and go.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way. Like a lot of people come in and out and then don't show up until the end. Like Yeah. So
that being said, I think that every time that she's in that movie, in front of the camera, she makes the scene that she's in,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt.
I think the fact
she has the best song in the movie, and her acting is some of the best in the movie.
I think the fact that she was in the movie so little and is nominated in this category
Right.
speaks for itself. She'll probably end up winning,
Right.
or probably should.
Well, this is what I think. Okay, Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs won. He won Best Actor, and people were like, "Really?" Because he was on screen for a total of like 15 minutes. But I don't think his performance and her performance are even comparable. Because I don't think in 15 years we're going to remember Anne Hathaway's performance in Les Mis. I really don't. Because it's one song in a play that has been done thousands of times. You know, how many
First
Les
time it's been
Miserables-
developed into a massive movie, though.
It was
Second.
a play.
There was a
and
movie
there
in
was
1998, I believe.
but
yeah,
it
but it
wasn't
wasn't
as
musical.
it wasn't nearly as big either.
No, and then it hit the stage. I mean, so I feel like, yeah, she sang her song really well, and "I Dreamed a Dream" by her was fantastic. But this is the way Roper put it, and I thought it was perfect. He's like, she sang one song and won the Oscar because of it. If
Yeah.
you cut out that one song, she was okay in the movie because there's nobody else that she's acting against. She's literally the only person in the first. Because, you know, she's not on screen with Hugh Jackman at the same time.
Right.
Until, like, a few very small scenes. It's literally her and backup people. So, obviously, she's going to look really good.
Right.
And then when she sang her
Which
song,
they wanted
she
to
blew it
do.
away. Right. That's what they wanted. And I'm not bashing that. But I just feel like you take that one song away that if they would have hired a singer, they could have gotten probably close to the same amount of emotion out of it.
Right.
I just feel like you can't give an Oscar for one song. It's just my opinion.
But I don't feel like it was one song, though. That's definitely the highlight of her performance.
Right.
But every time that she was in the movie, which is, at different sections of the movie,
Right,
I'm not going to
right.
spoil anything here for people because it's not necessary, but every time that she was in front of the camera, she
Right.
was the best part of the movie at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has to be taken into consideration.
It does. And I'm not going to say that I'll be upset if she wins because I don't think Sally Fields' performance was anything spectacular either.
Right.
Like, I
But-
don't think either one is worth an Oscar.
Was
Right.
Anne Hathaway's performance? Sorry.
I won't ever remember Sally
was-
Fields' performance, though. That is one thing. It's not a memorable performance.
That's
But she had to act across from Daniel Day-Lewis the
Right.
whole movie,
Who did
which is
fantastically.
hard to do.
Right.
I mean, if you look back at all his movies that he's won, the acting has had to have been so good. And like DiCaprio in Gangs of New York had to act against him, and that was tough. And DiCaprio is one of the greatest actors alive.
Right.
And he got overshadowed because Daniel Day-Lewis was so good.
Right.
Then you go to Lincoln, and Tommy Lee Jones and Sally Field both keep up with him. And I just feel like, and we know how good he was, so it wasn't like
Right.
he was acting down to their level. I just feel like it. But if you're picking here, pick Anne Hathaway. She's going to win the Oscar.
Right.
It's pretty much a given that she's
My
going to
question to Tyler is just real quick. You said when she was on the screen,
Yes.
she was the star of whatever she was in. pretty much.
absolutely.
She definitely
But
stole the show when
The-
she was on.
But was it because she was Anne Hathaway, or is it because of her character?
Exactly.
I honestly,
question.
I honestly believe that it was because of Anne Hathaway and the way she portrayed her character. I think that acting performance would be a lot tougher to fill her shoes
If
than
they
it
had
would
just chosen a no name.
Yeah.
than it would be to choose or to fill Helen Hunt's shoes. I
Yeah.
truly believe that.
Or
and
even
that,
Sally Field. Like,
yeah.
Right.
that is true. I just have an issue with her being on screen so little and one song and winning the Oscar.
Right.
But,
I mean, she hasn't won it yet.
she's pretty much won
Technically.
it. Well, we got a couple minutes left, so let's talk.
Right.
We have Best Director and Best Picture. Best Director. This category is the most snubs I've ever seen in an Oscar
Oh, this
category.
is terrible.
It's ridiculous.
Wait, Tarantino didn't make it?
Hang on.
Sorry.
Here are the nominations
Sorry.
for Best Director. Michael Haneke for Amour, Ang Lee for Life of Pi, David O. Russell for Silver Linings Playbook, excuse me, Steven Spielberg for Lincoln, and Ben Zetlin for Beasts of the Southern Wild.
It's between Ang Lee and Steven Spielberg.
That's it.
And it's not even close.
And
it's
Spielberg's
going to be
probably- he's
Spielberg
gonna win,
by a
'cause he's-
landslide.
Spielberg.
Where is Ben Affleck for Argo?
Or
He's won
Quentin
all the
Tarantino.
other Best Directing awards out there.
Yeah.
and he's been up against these movies.
Exactly. And then Catherine Bigelow for Hurt Locker. I mean, not Hurt Locker. So Zero Dark 30.
Right.
And Django. Tarantino.
Tarantino.
Those are three of the best directors.
And they could easily, I feel like, replace
yeah.
Silver Linings Playbook.
I feel like the person that did Beasts of the Southern Wild, as good of a movie as it was, sorry, it shouldn't be. He shouldn't be up for Best Director over Ben Affleck for Argo.
Right.
The bigger productions, I feel like, are much harder to direct. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not a director. I haven't been there. I might be completely wrong.
It's almost like the whole Academy went out drinking one night, and they're like, "Hey, you guys know what would be fantastic? Let's leave Ben Affleck, Quentin Tarantino, and that chick from Hurt Locker. Let's leave them all off the ballot.
Let's put in the movie with the girl from Hunger Games.
Yeah,
How about that?
Exactly. So if you're picking here, pick Spielberg.
Yeah,
he's got it locked in.
Hands down.
I think Ang Lee should win.
Right.
Because of how visually stunning he made the movie.
Absolutely.
And as good as Spielberg was, it wasn't his best work.
Oh, no.
By any means. I mean, with Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan out there.
Saving Private Ryan is one of my all-time favorites.
No way this is better directing than those two movies, at least personally. So I think Ang Lee should win, but it's going to be Spielberg, hands down.
Right.
Don't bet against Spielberg here.
All right.
He's pretty much got the win.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you've all been waiting for.
Bit of the show, we're talking Best Picture. Here are the nominees. Amour, Argo, Beasts of the Southern Wild, Django Unchained, Les Miserables, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark 30. Any snubs here real quickly?
Not really.
I'm going to go
couldn't think of any.
With Brave. I'm just
don't even go there. Yeah,
just kidding.
This was actually really. I mean, they made up for the nominees for Best Director when they picked Best Picture.
Really, Best Director was the only category that we felt like really got snubbed.
Yeah.
Out of this whole list, there were a few people here or there, but Best Picture, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw Amour out of the mix because we haven't seen it,
right?
And nobody's expecting it to win.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw Beasts of the Southern Wild out.
Silver Linings Playbook is not gonna beat Lincoln.
It's not gonna beat exactly. So we have Argo, Django, Les Mis, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Zero Dark 30. Those are the ones that we think are going to have a chance.
Should we go around the room?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll start with Micah. So which one do you think should win Best Picture? Best Movie of the Year, 2012.
I'm not sure which one should. The one that probably will win. Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all, if you put these in like a tournament.
Right.
Would Beasts of the Southern Wild beat Lincoln?
No.
Would Django beat Lincoln?
Probably not.
Would Zero Dark 30 beat Lincoln?
Maybe.
It's a tough one.
That's a coin flip.
If it was a 7-game series, it'd go to 7 games.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right.
Or it'd be a really close game 6.
You picking Lincoln here?
I'm thinking, like we've said, the Academy picks these types of movies.
And it's
Lincoln,
Spielberg. It's hard to pick against Spielberg.
Right.
When he puts his time into a movie.
Definitely.
So we got Lincoln for Micah.
Probably Lincoln.
I'm probably going to go Lincoln as well, although I don't think that Zero Dark 30 has much of a shot, honestly, because the political, behind-the-scenes stuff that's gone on with that.
There have been members of the Academy, I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again, that have come out and said they will not vote for Zero Dark 30 because of the torture scenes in the movie. Period.
Right.
Which automatically takes votes away from the movie. So when it's a close race, you got to go. You can't pick the one that's going to have votes taken away automatically.
I think Zero Dark 30 and Argo have the best shot of getting at Lincoln, but it's probably not going to happen.
I don't think Life of Pi has a chance here.
Right.
I would like to see Life of Pi win just because I love the movie, but is it the best movie of the year? Probably not.
So what do you think, Caleb?
I don't know. I got to throw Django out. I don't think it has a chance.
Right.
It was my favorite movie last year, but shouldn't win. I would love to see it win. I would love to see Tarantino
that would
win
be
Best
awesome.
Picture. Best Picture. So we have Argo, Zero Dark 30, and Lincoln. Those are the three. Oh, and Les Mis. I'm throwing Les Mis out. I don't think it'll win either.
Right.
It wasn't getting enough critic love. I'm going to go ahead and pick, I don't know, not Zero Dark 30 because of the political stuff. And Argo, I think I would go for it because it's won all the other awards for the other shows, but they didn't nominate him for Best Director. So obviously the Academy thinks something about this movie that we don't.
Right, and that's why I said Zero Dark 30 probably wouldn't win.
And so I'm going to pick Argo. I think it will win. I think it should win out of those two, out of Lincoln and Argo. But I don't know. Lincoln could win easily.
Yeah,
right.
I'm going to pick Lincoln because it's the safe choice for the Academy to make.
It really is. It's the safe choice.
But as far as the quality of the movies, they're both extremely quality movies, extremely well directed. Again, it's a crime Ben Affleck was not on the list. But I think that the Academy's going to make the safe pick. They're going to pick Lincoln. That's my choice.
They said that only 3 people in the history of the Academy Awards have not been nominated for Best Director and won the Best Picture. It was something 3 or 5.
Yeah.
That's not many. So it's hard to pick Argo here because
definitely.
I think safe choice is Lincoln. I would like to see Argo, and I think it should win. Argo, but it probably won't. But
Right.
that's been our show today. Thank you for tuning in. We had a lot of fun. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and on YouTube at facebook.com/TheCrackedNation and youtube.com/TheCrackedNation. These will be up on video there. You can watch them on there.
Probably tonight or tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow because we have to render everything and it takes some time to do. So thank you for tuning in. We had fun and we are out.